It wasn't easy growing up as a gay boy in the 1950s and 60s in rural America. First, I really didn't understand what all of that or any of that meant. I just knew I was different from my friends. And as time went on, the sense of difference grew into a sense of being flawed. Not so much fearfully and wonderfully made, but badly and brokenly made. And so, because there was no one to talk to, I certainly couldn't talk to my parents about this. I had no close friends and no adult confidants. I talked to God. I prayed a lot, a whole lot. And perhaps got tired of my prayers of, "Why have you laid this curse on me? Please, God, make me normal." Because one night, I heard a voice say, "It is a gift. I gave you a gift." I was so surprised that I looked around to see if some human had heard my prayer and was offering me comfort. But there was no one. One might have thought that an experience like that would have reassured me and set me onto a path of hope. But it was so contrary to every message I was receiving from the world that I set it down as wishful thinking. After all, in those years, homosexuality was still considered insanity by the medical community, sin by the church, and a punishable offense by the state. So I could only believe it was just the voice of my own desperate mind trying to offer some kind of hope. Life moved on, and I tried to live a good life. Not an honest life, but a good life as I understood it. A Christian life. You couldn't be gay and be a Christian. And then in my early 40s, I decided that a helpful discipline for Lent would be to try to read my way through the whole Bible. Well, not the whole thing during Lent, mind you, but I figured I could make a pretty good dent in it. I made it to the book of 1 Samuel and the story of David and Goliath, and to the part of the story that's a sort of post-mortem for Goliath, in which David is called into the king's presence to give his account of what has just happened. And standing beside King Saul is his son Jonathan. And here's what the writer of Samuel says, chapter 18, verse 1. After he, David, had finished speaking, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David, and he loved him as his own soul. He loved him as his own soul. And I felt something like the turning of a key in a lock, a sort of click in my chest. If God approves of this love between Jonathan and David, then maybe, just maybe, I'm allowed to love who I love. A few months later, I met Scott, and early in the relationship, I decided I would share this story, which was so important to me, despite my fear that he might think I was some sort of religious nut. And I told him pretty much what I've just shared with you. And when I had finished speaking, he had a very, very strange expression on his face. And I thought, well, I guess I blew that. But what he said was, "You don't know who I am, do you?" Well, I think I do. You're Scott, right? Yes, he said. But Scott is my middle name. My first name is Jonathan. And then he said, my mother wasn't supposed to be able to conceive a child. So when I was born, she named me Jonathan, which means God's most gracious gift. It's a gift. I gave you a gift. And that feeling of a turning lock became a door that swung open.